Hey, Taylor Johnson here. If you're listening to this, you've either made a great choice or you've accidentally clicked something while scrolling. Either way, you should stay. This is Pop Culture Pastor.
Pop Culture Pastor.
All right, Cody. I think I'm a little emotionally invested in the toxic mom group news that we talked about last week.
The news that will never end.
I realized after we put that pod out, I want very badly to be on Ashley Tisdale's side. And I'm not really even sure why. It's not like I was a High School Musical person or anything like that. I think I gravitate towards the person who seems on their own, like they're alone. That might be a character flaw, but it's my character flaw. If you're unaware, last week we covered a story where Ashley Tisdale had done wrote a blog for The Cut. The Cut is New York Magazine's online publication, where she was basically recounting some obviously real history of her own without naming names and saying like, hey, it's okay for you to leave a toxic friend group.
She's not wrong.
Yeah. And basically saying, if you feel like you're being edged out or, just on the whole, you don't feel like they're being very kind to you, it's okay to just kind of ease away. And then it all blew up.
It did.
Yeah. So if you remember that story from last week's pod, if you didn't listen to last week's pod.
What do you mean by blow up?
Okay. Well, I'll give you a recap here in a second.
Okay.
That was, this is Pop Culture Pastor. My name's Dave. Cody's here.
I am.
And that voice you heard was DJ Dangerfield, which means this is a What's Up Doc episode. But before we get to the documentary, I got to update you on the toxic mom beef. Because now TMC's involved, like everybody's talking about it. So essentially, what happened was Tisdale wrote this blog called Breaking Up with My Toxic Mom Group. And apparently everyone found out that this group, a group that included Hillary Duff, Mandy Moore, Meghan Trainor.
It didn't take that much online sleuthing to figure it out because she always was tagged in photos with them or was tagging them in photos. So,
yeah. And we talked about last week how what she wrote was just basically that it was an important group to her. It's often after you have a baby, you can be dealing with postpartum depression, things like that. And so it was like this, it was just very big for her. And then as time went on, she felt like that she wasn't really a part of the group while being a part of the group, right?
She wasn't invited to multiple events.
Yeah. And I think lots of people can identify with that feeling.
Now, that doesn't go into whether she had done anything to earn not being invited into the group.
Yeah, we have no idea what transpired. What we do know is what we talked about last week, where Hillary Duff's husband, Matthew Coma, who apparently makes a living by being an influencer online and judging people. Doing what he does.
I hear he is well thought and just all around nice guy.
Yeah, I was getting there.
Well, I'm not spoiling anything yet. I'm just telling you.
We talked about how we had talked about Matthew Coma before, like 2 years ago, when he went in on Candace Cameron Bure, and that
the girl from Full House.
Yes,
who has a problem with her?
Well, Matthew Coma apparently, but this was funny because if I'm
not Deej.
That's her. That's the one.
Just a side note there. That's something that white people always call me.
Deej?
I've never. It's like I've never had a brother go, "What's up, Deej?"
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What is that about? We're going to abbreviate DJ now.
One day we're going to do an entire episode on white dudes' affinity for shortening names as nicknames.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. All right, we'll do that later. All right, very good.
Yeah.
So this Matthew Coma, is he like a blogger? Who is he?
This is weird. I don't know what he does.
He's married to Hillary Duff.
Besides being married to Hillary Duff.
Oh, he's married to Hillary Duff. Okay.
He's a former band rocker.
Okay.
Like he was in a band that was at least sort of seems like a failed thing because it's no longer a thing. And we silently posited, or not silently because it was a podcast, we wondered how hard it was for Matthew Coma to be married to an accomplished celebrity female who was still doing things, who, like, at that time she had just gotten the role for How I Met Your Father,
Yes.
the spin-off show to How I Met Your Mother. And we wondered, like, why is he going in so hard on females? So here we have another story about how here he is going in again on another female. This is where it gets interesting. Mandy Moore.
Friend of the pod.
Not really. She took to social media and commented about on Matthew Coma's post where he was making fun of Ashley Tisdale and said that Matthew Coma was the most talented and generous, one of the most talented and generous humans she knows.
Mandy needs to get out more.
And I'm just like, Cody, can someone who uses social media to judge people be one of the kindest people you know? Or is that a thing that can be?
So I do think there is a case that could be made, although public shaming or humiliating someone that was definitely a part of his life for at least a handful of years, it becomes very messy.
Yeah.
Which is something that, like, a lot of us don't have to deal with. At worst, it's usually like, oh, so-and-so's going at so-and-so on Facebook, and it's like over in a couple days and the whole town forgets about it.
Yeah.
Where this is playing out on like a national scale, and now TMZ being involved and more people commenting on it, it just keeps spinning out. Where, like, from a pastoral or even a therapist perspective, it's like, okay, like, talk to this person in private, and if you're done with them, just be done with them.
Side note, one day, whenever we decide we're done with this pod, we have to do a fake beef over social media, just because it would be fun.
Oh, we're beefing.
And people will be like, did you see DJ liked Cody's post where he was slamming Dave? Like, it just, the geeks of the round table will have to take sides on social media, and it'll be hilarious. Oh, well, Jackson stopped following Cody.
And you got to be careful. I spend less time on social media now. I started off restricting myself, and now it's just got to this point where I don't need to get on there. But a few years ago, I liked somebody who had got together, not knowing that it wasn't an appropriate relationship. And somebody from my church confronted me, like, angrily, like, you this couple's post.
Oh, man.
And they shouldn't be together because this one's still with this one and this one's still with that one. And I didn't know. I just was like, oh, so-and-so's got a new girlfriend. Hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
No, it don't work like that.
So as this was growing, as you know, we talked about it on our pod last week, and it just kept growing as far as how big of a story it was. Ashley Tisdale's husband, Christopher French, has been supportive according to social media, because he commented under her post, "I'm so proud of you." You know, like, so he's with her. And then he mentioned in one of the Instagram stories, or he shared something, and he said it's your choice whether or not to engage.
Correct.
Right. So he's like being very balanced on, like, and throwing out comments out there that seemingly say what their stance is like, well, it's their turn to come back at us, but we're not going to respond. And then he also posted something else that said, underrated life skill, pausing to decide if it's worth your energy.
Yeah.
So
you liked that, didn't you?
Yes, I actually did.
Yeah.
I was like, but he's kind of responding in today's day and age.
Well, no response
It is a response.
technically is a response.
Yeah. Then Meghan Trainor entered the fray, which
is she part of the group?
Yeah, I didn't even know she was a part of the group until she posted a kind of a cheeky TikTok of how she found out. She's pretending to type on her computer, and then she feigns shock into the camera as she finds out how it's all blowing up online. She had no idea, apparently. And her song "Still Don't Care" was playing in the background of the TikTok.
Wow, don't care, still don't care.
Still don't care. Even Meghan Trainor's husband,
implying that the post was true.
Maybe.
If you're saying still don't care, you're saying I didn't care before, I don't care now.
Maybe.
So you're now proving that what the lady said in the beginning is actually true.
But mostly, is she just promoting her new song?
Well, probably so. Rent's due. Rent is due.
Daryl Sabara, who is Meghan Trainor's husband, got questioned by TMZ.
Disney actor and spy kid extraordinaire.
Oh, okay.
This almost feels like high school.
That's exactly what I said last week. And
These people were big when I was in high school.
he got asked about it by TMZ, and he said, "No drama over here, just trying to keep the kids happy," when he was questioned about the rumored feud. Okay. Then Chelsea Handler decided she was going to say something about it.
Chelsea.
Because Chelsea Handler likes to say things about things.
Yes.
During a January 7th interview with Page 6 Radio, she said the concept of a toxic mom group sounds awful. And she said that's another reason not to have children.
I was going to say this is obviously going to be bashing having kids at some point.
Yeah, because Chelsea Handler. But she also said that Mandy Moore is like the most wonderful, sweet person she's ever met. So she said, I'll just say that. She said, I don't really know Ashley Tisdale, but I do like Meghan Trainor. So she's just going to say how much she likes everyone else in the group. Then, okay, this is where it gets interesting. Haley Duff. Do you know who Haley Duff is?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Are you aware that Haley and Hillary may also be feuding?
No.
Yeah, the sisters.
No, I don't want Duff on Duff violence.
The sisters the Duff sisters haven't been photographed together since 2019. And she shared Ashley Tisdale's article from her Instagram. She shared the article. So, yeah. At some point during the week after our pod came out, because we just talked about the initial thing with her and then the Matthew Coma thing. When Mandy Moore said her piece and all that, I messaged you because you were sending me all the updates.
Yes.
As Cody does. And I messaged you. And then I used Matthew Coma's words and I said, what are the odds that everybody in this scenario is a little self-obsessed and what Matthew Coma said? And Cody sent back greater than 0. But then I started thinking, I was like, what are the odds that all of us are just a little too self-obsessed?
Hey, you're still looking at greater than 0.
Yes.
Yeah. And maybe, just maybe, this is kind of, it's all worse because of social media and the internet.
Yeah.
She writes a blog. Like if she writes a blog, they may never see it. First of all, if it's just a blog, they probably would because celebrity culture, but I don't know. It was all interesting updates there, and I haven't gotten any pieces of news in 2 or 3 days, and I'm kind of jonesing for it. Cody, he's like, "You got any more of that Ashley Tisdale talks some mom news?" I'm over here, Chappelle showing, and like I need more.
But think about how many phone calls they've probably made and all the conversations that are going on.
Right? I would love to be a fly on the wall.
Well, so I did nearly send you an article yesterday about some people within, I want to say it was one of the New York publications was like, we interviewed this person that Ashley Tisdale used to work with at Disney, and she said she was treated like garbage.
Yeah, well, okay, so all of these people, most of these people involved in this were stars at a youthful age. That's the other piece of this. How many of those people could you bring out of the woodwork? So, like...
So you're waiting for Zac Efron to speak up?
Well, I mean, not even...
yes.
Not even...
Yes, I am.
We would love to know where Zac Efron stands. But how many... So people that are child stars and grow up as famous people have to mature at the same rate as the rest of us. And it probably is harder when everyone...
Or do they mature?
Well, exactly. It might be
stuck.
harder to do that. And so how many people have they been rude to, cruel to, mean to?
It's one of the most dangerous things that can happen to you in life. Your success get out in front of your maturity level.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean. That's what I mean is like, that's not even a slam on those people. That's me saying it's almost not fair.
No.
Because I'm sure they have a trail of people that they maybe wish they would have treated better. Or maybe they don't wish.
You hope so. You hope that they have a trail.
Yeah.
If there is a trail that they wished, some people don't quite discern that they're that person.
Anyway, this is kind of a good story for us to warm up on and move into our main story because social media and influencing is going to have a role in the documentary we're going to talk about. This is a What's Up Doc episode, and we watched on Netflix Evil Influencer, the Jodi Hildebrandt Story. I should say before we even get started, I know some of y'all listeners listen with your kids. This has some sensitive information in it, some sensitive topics, just some things you might want to be aware of that like are more in the adult conversation room. Not that we're not going to say anything like graphic or bad, but it's just it's a tough watch. The documentary was in places just because some of the things that are perpetrated and some of the areas this quote unquote licensed therapist / life coach was dealing in.
Yeah. So I recommend listening to this if you're an adult by yourself first, and then if you feel like your kids are great for this convo, go ahead.
Yeah, there you go. So, Evil Influencer, the Jodi Hildebrandt Story. Basically, what we have here is a story that starts off. That I love when the documentaries play around with the narrative structure of how they divulge the information. It starts off with a kid who's obviously been malnourished, starved. He's got wounds on his wrists and his ankles, showing up at some people's houses, like ringing the doorbell. And it starts off this sequence of events that basically uncovers a therapist acting more as a cult leader to giant mommy influencer family that I'd never heard of, but they had over 2 million followers.
So my wife had actually heard of the family before this all happened.
Yeah. And basically her just kind of, it seems like she just builds this empire and this therapy of this thing she's doing and becomes somewhat of a de facto cult leader in the way that she's really altering people's lives by just telling them how to do, what to live, disguising it all in therapy speak as like boundaries and consequences instead of, abuse, essentially. And this whole story is a story about these children that kind of get caught in the middle of this. The physical evidence is brutal, but the psychological hold on the children is what really scared me. Although the physical abuse is shocking when, these people see a kid roll up on their doorstep and you see the police in that town react to the wounds where the handcuffs were on this kid. That's shocking. But I think the mental abuse was even worse because by the time they find these kids, they can't even, they're convinced they deserved it. That's how much of a hold this Jodi Hildebrandt had on these people's minds.
There's a lot more families involved with this story, and they bring out a whole bunch of people that their marriages are permanently altered. Their familial bonds are altered because of interactions with this influencer therapist life coach. This documentary was fascinating to me because it operates on so many different levels of like social media, faith, mental health. And so you have all these things playing a role, and all this is happening in a very affluent, rich, white neighborhood in Utah.
Yeah.
Can I just say that this documentary, and then the one that's on, not Amazon Prime, there's one on HBO Max, and it's got like 3 or 4 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
There's also one on Hulu, but I watched one on HBO Max. Both of them open the same way with that 911 call, and that 911 call is explosive.
It is.
That the man breaks down in the middle of that 911 call, and you're just like, whoa.
This is bad.
Yeah.
Well, in real time, he's having the reaction that everyone else has watching the documentary has, but they kind of stretch it out for the viewer.
Absolutely.
To where at some point in the documentary, you have the thought that guy's having all at once, which is, who would do this to a kid? Yeah. Because he's being confronted with all that evidence right off the bat of a kid who's like obviously been denied food and water, obviously been bound.
Yeah.
And then once you hear how he was bound, that's just awful. Yeah. I mean, there's just no way around that. And it's all this mommy blogger who is literally kind of under the thrall of someone who is very persuasive and is using it and has been granted that persuasiveness through the dynamics of faith, because this all takes place in the backdrop of the Mormon church, basically Latter-day Church of Latter-day Saints, and not saying they're directly involved, but just saying that that's the power structure that's in place and the power dynamics of influencers and what we assume an influencer is an expert of.
Well, that's the thing that HBO Max does a really good job of, is it highlights what she was doing before she became with Connections. And she ends up going viral with a certain video, and then she starts not being able to turn the camera off. And it becomes a huge issue in her marriage and her relationships with her kids, because she starts filming everything because she's chasing subscription. Like, when she first starts off, she has no makeup on. She's unlike any other Mormon blogger or vlogger, or however you say that. She doesn't have any makeup on. She doesn't care. She's just talking for like 5 or 7 minutes, and then it goes viral and it becomes a thing, and she won't turn it off. She will not. She even gets in a car wreck, and instead of checking on her kids, she plays to this car wreck. She gets rear-ended, and she's trying to get likes and hits, and you can just tell the kids are deeply impacted. Way before Jodi Hildebrandt gets into the picture, her family is spiraling because she goes from just being a normal mom, just talking about her life, to wearing makeup and then kind of trying to coach her kids to do certain things with the cameras. And in the HBO Max documentary, they're like, we're not going to do it this time. And she'll get mad at them and she'll punish them. And that's where some of the punishment started, when the kids were done participating when this 8 passengers documentary blown up.
One of the lead prosecutors talked about how he would say that she was fringy with her parenting, that like some of it was good, some of it like you wouldn't recommend for anyone, but like it's not going to warrant them being involved. Like,
Got you.
It's on the edge there. And then eventually we get to the place where they are involved and there's significant charges and significant sentencing. So
so the first, I think the first area I would like to direct our conversation is, this was something I noticed while watching it, is and it was dealt with the first part where we're really getting to know Jodi Hildebrandt, because she first starts off kind of exclusively dealing with young married couples and really dwelling in the realm of a very kind of faith-backed realm, a religious realm, where she is almost villainizing the male, the husbands, in that like they have this evil in them. It's all very faithy. It like with that backdrop, it's not real faith, obviously we can say that, but it's this religious backdrop. And in what I want to say is that it all stems from this place of influencer culture. And then there's another culture taking place here, what I would call victim culture. So the problem with a culture like ours that elevates victimhood is who becomes the enemy. And victimhood is culturally attractive because it casts someone as you get to be the perpetual underdog, which in America we like rooting for the underdog. We like being the underdog. So the point being is if there's a perpetual underdog and you get to be it, then who's the antagonist? Who's the enemy? Victim narratives require villains, and the villain is usually whoever looks like the majority, the most visible symbol of power in that space. She's constantly pinpointing the husband as the problem within any of these marriage covenants. And it's always, she's sending off husbands to be to not have contact with their wife and kids for a year. Like, that's insane. And how does anyone believe that?
Well, her father was a pilot in the military, and he was devout. He did not mess around. Big time disciplinarian. And she really struggled with her being as a kid. She felt like she was ugly. She was kind of big boned, as we would say, on the streets. And she really felt some kind of way about her own personal identity. And she gets into this system of where she gets married at a younger age than what we probably expect, and probably quicker. She thought that she had to get married. It only lasts like 3 years.
Yep.
2 kids in. None of the kids talk to her now. I mean, it's
I kept waiting for them to show up in the documentary, and they wouldn't even get on there.
She did talk about how growing up with that strict parenting style, that it was very fear-based, which I would say her therapeutic style, not so much victim culture, but I would say it's a fear culture, that she's building off of fear. Within some traditions of the faith, that's more the focus, is like, we're going to tell you what you're doing wrong and kind of have this Puritan presence and aura about us. Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God by Jonathan Edwards. You need to be crying when you leave my office because you are so afraid that damnation is coming your way. And that's how she presented to me during this.
I have a term, and I need to look it up. I don't know if it's a real thing. Codis may know. I call them charismatic predators.
Charismatic predators. That's the phrase.
I'm aware of it just because I'm charismatic. And I don't mean like Pentecostal. I mean charismatic personality people.
Yeah.
And I think they're the most dangerous. I think my personality is the most dangerous personality in a leadership position in the culture right now. This is just me. I don't need anybody on the podcast to agree with me. There's nothing against anybody with a charismatic personality. I think if you notice early in the documentary, if you'll let me track just for a second, the girl goes on a mission trip with her, and she said, "I almost feel like I wasn't needed."
Yes.
Ruby was. She solved all these problems, super gifted, and I think she found her identity in these giftings. She could make people feel better. She seems intelligent. She's very confident. She's a woman, so we're in a society now where if you have any social skills, you want to make room and space for women leadership. And I believe charismatic predators do this on purpose. I don't think it's in the DSM or anything like that. But I think this is a person who finds small ponds to go to. They look for vacuums of needs where they can supply the need. They become like the leader. They become the one. My dad would say that the one-eyed man is the king of the blind. So they go places where they have one eye, nobody else can see, and they're able to draft realities for people, normal people with degrees, people who are intelligent, people who are smart, but in their mental health, they need to feel better.
Yes.
And this person's personality makes you feel better. And we know that's a gift from God, and it should be used for good, but this person turns it to use for themselves. They're very transactional, they're manipulative, they're predators, and they go into churches, any place. Corporate, we've seen this with the corporate world. They're able to get money, so you can get people to get, Ponzi schemes, guys who, it's not about the system. It's about this charismatic predator who leverages and takes advantage of the most vulnerable, so kids, right? And the weak. And we're living in a time where people's mental health, since we've been tracking it, is the weakest coming out of COVID. And I don't think the correlation is about systemic stuff. I think there's a personality that nobody's talking about, and people get mad at me for talking about this, that there's these charismatic predators who go in environments where everybody's looking at them, and they have 300, 200, 400 people every day that they're talking to. And when they talk, I feel better, and I listen to them. And they make up their own languages. She kept saying distortion. They reform definitions. They're subtle.
Yes.
You have to pay attention. They're good. It sounds so good, but you have to really listen with a trained ear. She changes subtle definitions of truth. If you listen to her talks, she used the word truth. It's so close to the real definition. If you don't have a trained ear, you don't know. And then they make up their own words, or they kind of take words that nobody uses and make them their own, like distortion. So anytime you argue with her, she uses these words that she's made her own against you and gaslights you with the word that she's taught you. And she even lets you pretend like you know it. And then when you start trying to hold her accountable, she uses this language against you, and she can really well because she invented it. And you learned it from her. And as our mental state and the lack of friendships continue to become prominent, and people need friends. They need to be connected. I believe we're going to start seeing this. And so if you have a charismatic predator, they have a mental toughness to them. They're so narcissistic that they can outlast, outlive, and outwit most people. And I think she's a charismatic predator, and I believe we're going to see more of them. And I think we need to start talking about it and educating ourselves. And if you're a charismatic leader and you're listening, I would encourage you to get under the umbrella of accountability quickly put things in place where there's accountability in your life, because I think it's a tool that you'll use, and you'll use people and you'll manipulate people without even knowing you're doing it.
So I took in my notes that Jodi was drunk off her own charisma, and that everyone else was drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get people removed from her for a year or two, and you get the guy that was like, oh, I could tell that she was spiraling towards the end, and like she was getting more and more out there, but he kept seeing her. And I'm like, my dude, like, you're just giving her money. Like, you can give me money. What are you doing? If you notice something's wrong with medical professional opinions, you get a diagnosis and you think, maybe I should get a second opinion. You go to a different doctor and test it out.
What they're good at, though, is they're able to get one person may go in, and we all know that there's always one person on the team that's going to go in. So what they do is, all they got to do with a spouse is get one, and they got you, because he's giving in because he's trying to stay married.
He is.
And they start off so charming and so charming. She could shapeshift so well. It's amazing. And once you get one of the members of a team or the spouse or a crew, nobody can challenge these environments where nobody can tell the person no.
They become really good at weeding out the person that's causing the problems in the toxic mom group.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I? I mean,
well, it's true. Yeah. And and it's like, after they wound you, you don't have anywhere to heal, so you're weak. So your voice is smaller, even when you think you've brought a strong defense. And then if you're already an introvert, which is a tough thing to do anyway, and so I have to, whenever I actually will empower people who disagree with me at the church, just because I need them to know I win some arguments, and I can be wrong as day just because you win the argument don't make you right.
Let's examine that for a second, because we've been heading there for the last 15 minutes. Seems like.
Sorry, my bad.
No, not you. Mostly Cody.
Okay,
that's how I roll.
But about halfway through this documentary, I realized I really wasn't interested in the ongoing detective work.
Yeah,
I wasn't really interested in, because I knew how this story was going to end. They're going to get arrested. They're going to go to prison for a long time.
You hope.
What was way more interesting to me was the power dynamics.
And that's why you got to watch the HBO documentary.
Yeah. Okay.
If you get a chance. Just throwing that out there.
Clearly, I have to watch that one. So the power dynamics are really interesting to me here, because this is something that church people are already familiar with.
Absolutely.
I'm assuming that Mormons will place the same amount of weight that, that other Christians do, or Christians, if you don't think that they're related anyway. I don't want to get into that, but they both obviously use the Gospels. And the Sermon on the Mount in particular is like one large treatise on how we should be the meek. It says the meek shall inherit the earth. Now, the meek are people who have power available to them, but shun it and say, we're not going to use this worldly power. Now, think about what you just talked about with charismatic leaders in a church setting or any setting. Think about Jodi Hildebrandt and how she builds this area where she goes into a vacuum of power, which churches can be like that if they're doing it right.
Absolutely.
There's power available that they're shunning, that they're not using, and it makes way for a dynamic personality to come in, and sometimes it's not even with ill intent to start.
You know what's crazy is they can make you feel so good. Now think about this, Cody. She was so gifted that even when the Mormon church said, okay, she's gotten enough trouble, we got to take her off of our websites, but bishops were still under the table referring people to the charismatic personality. This charismatic predator that I'm telling you about is so good. You want to give them grace. You want to forgive them. You feel good when you give them grace, and when you feel better. They are so good that they jack your motives up. You're no longer moving by values, principles, scripture, the Spirit. You're moving by how they make you feel.
Yes.
It's the strangest type of domestic violence type of case. It's almost like a domestic violence. I don't want to use crazy terms, but the same kind of sense. They're able to, and these are people who got master's degrees. They're educated. Yeah. You're like, how do these people do that? Until you're underneath, and I'm going to say spell for lack of a better term. It's the thing I'm most afraid of for myself.
Jodi Hildebrandt convinces at least 2 husbands and newish fathers to just remove themselves from the people they love.
Yes.
Like that, just full stop. Every time they're on the screen, it's blowing my mind. I'm like, why would you agree to this?
He didn't even know where all of his kids were.
No.
He's like, I didn't know they were staying there.
He had no idea about his kids' welfare.
And you could tell.
Yeah.
You could tell he wasn't faking.
So, for someone to enter that vacuum void, also, you have to put in perspective that churches, especially more, I would say, conservative churches, like the Latter-day Saints is, mental health really has not been something uplifted, like brought to the forefront of this is ministry, this is going to be something that will help your spiritual life if you're mentally healthy. And so when they do start to move in that direction, if you can get in on the ground floor, like, you have a lot of power then.
I'm going to push back just a little bit. I don't think it matters what's pendulum. I can name Ira Icorn off the top of my head. I can name many people during the hippie movement that was supposed to be the most purest thing in humanity on a liberal side of things that rose to a power that had people doing things that just went. I think
it doesn't matter the pendulum.
Yeah.
I'm saying with the mental health thing, that it really
I
is.
think there's something in our humanity that wants, it's supposed to be Christ, but there's something in our humanity that wants a physical leader that we can see. And I think it's getting worse, where we are just looking for somebody to come save us from ourselves.
Yeah.
And have all the answers. And I think there's a thing happening right in the midst of us that I don't feel like is being talked about. If I use different people that are currently leading right now, it'll cause a big fight. So I don't want to get into that part of it. But we're literally watching this cult of personality play out all over. It doesn't matter what any leader does in some cases. They could probably, there are some leaders right now that are in places, the corporate world, all over the place. They could kill somebody on live TV and their followers will justify their leadership. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay. I don't think this is a strange thing that's happening, and I think it is connected definitely to our lack of mental health.
Hold on. I want to stop there. Because I want to pinpoint that. Because what I think you're zeroing in on there is influencer culture, whereas the people you're talking about are influencing by action. They don't need to have a YouTube channel or anything like that. Just by nature of existing in the world they exist in, they're naturally influencers. So at one point, the documentary talks about Utah and how it's maybe uniquely set up for this.
Yes.
It's structured for influencer ecosystems. So you have strong community identity. You have moral language. You have trust networks because you naturally trust the church you're in if you're happy to be a part of it. And then it mixes. So you got influencer culture mixing with the religious culture. So religious cultures have authority, guidance, moral clarity, and community, which all create worldly power. And then the influencer culture slides right in. And all of a sudden, coaching becomes calling. Charisma becomes divine. Like all of a sudden, the charisma that you were talking about, these people, everything they say becomes some sort of prophecy or word, as we would call in the Pentecostal truth. And then truth becomes their just brand, like truth in quotation marks.
Yeah. Well, to your point, I didn't realize that you could either go knock on doors or they're actually encouraging people. Another way of being a missionary is creating a vlog or a blog that, because they got the market down almost whenever I would see somebody giving parenting tips, I thought, man, that's a really, I always go, I bet you it's Mormon. It was. Almost every time I saw somebody doing like the home mothering, whenever I can look at it, it's almost like hearing the AI voices on Spotify now. You can just tell, I bet you that's AI. You can just hear it. Same thing with that. You can just tell there was something to this, but I didn't know it was that they were considered to be missionaries too. And it was given the same weight as a missionary who went door to door. I didn't know that till that documentary.
Yeah, that was news to me. It's interesting because with the influencer culture, there's a couple different layers that's happening. There's the whole thing of you're presenting as someone that knows what they're talking about, that you are an expert.
Yeah.
But then also you're presenting either your real life or you're presenting the facade of your real life. And people are buying in that, oh, this person has 6 kids. They all seem well behaved. She has it figured out. She's clearly an expert now, even though in her journals you read, nope, don't got this figured out.
So you have the power structure that's already available in the religious, the power dynamics that are available in religious structure, and you combine it with what Cody was just talking about, which is in influencer culture. There's this authority available. And we believe that if you're an influencer and you have a bunch of followers, that authority is amplified. Just something about the human brain. We trust you.
Yeah.
If there's a lot of people behind you.
If you're gifted though at something, I mean, that's why I remember when Dave Chappelle was making fun of, like, they were like, oh, 9/11 just happened, let's go to Ja Rule. He's like, why do I care what Ja Rule thinks about 9/11? And so we're now seeing, so every video awards show, every pop culture show, now that they give away awards, the celebrities lecture us on how to live their life because we have stewarded them somehow Tom Hanks knows everything about how everybody should live because he's a good actor, and it's just not true. Yeah. Tom Hanks isn't the most brilliant person on the planet, but because he's a gifted actor, he now can tell us who should be president, who should be this, who should be that, and he goes from show to show, and he gets to share it, and everybody's like, Tom Hanks, and people repost this.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the important question. So these celebrities have just been fooled into thinking because people care about my opinion carries more weight.
Absolutely.
When that's not necessarily true.
And I think influencing jumps on that too.
Yeah, as far as like, are they correct or not?
Yeah.
No, you really have no background in this. You don't know what you're speaking on. But because we've given it weight, they fooled themselves. Jodi Hildebrandt, let's go back to her. Is she in on this? Or does she actually believe what her mind is thinking?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Is she intentionally grabbing power? Or does she just accept it and believe that she's really an instrument of God?
She thinks she's that. And guys, I don't know if it's in this one or the second one. I'm getting the documentaries mixed up, but in one of them, they have her voice from the prison, and she says, I can't wait to get out of here.
Yep.
I have some stuff that's going to change the world. This is a God thing. So she's almost, to me, it was almost like she's not Paul, she's Paula. So she's not the Apostle Paul. But she's Paula. She's the modern day version of Paul. There's a conspiracy against her. She's been jailed unjustly. And all this has done is empowered her voice. And she's learning. What they say about jail, you learn what not to do. You learn how not to get caught. So trust me, I think she's going to try to rebuild what she started. But it's going to look different. And she's going to know how to.
She claims to be divine.
I'm telling you.
So
I'm telling you.
She has 4 to 30 years to figure it out. So this is the first documentary that I have paid attention to where like my brain was like, oh, I'm thinking you have this diagnosis. Now, as a therapist, I can't say that because like there's things about like.
Okay, hold on, time out. What do you mean you can't say that?
So, like, I can't say, like, on air that I think she has this diagnosis.
Really?
Because then I am trying to practice outside my scope because I've never talked with her. I don't know, like, haven't conducted an intake on her, but I have a
Text me what
diagnosis.
you think it is, and I'll say it.
Yeah. You'll notice that the other therapist,
Why is there a serpent here?
the other therapist in the documentary is very careful.
Yes.
Like she indicates that she thinks there's other things going on with her, but is careful to never really put that to words.
I want to read a quote that I wrote. I want to be an ant in Cody's brain in this documentary. That's what I put. I just want to hang out and see what goes by. I was wondering the whole time, like, what is Cody? Because this is kind of your neck of the woods. 'Cause she licensed this girl.
Yeah.
She licensed it. She gets so caught in her fantasy world that become real to her that she licensed somebody and she has no.
Where are the people? Here's what I don't understand. Is Jodi Hildebrandt seems like someone who would have glommers on, a husband, anybody, but
Yeah.
she's seemingly just isolated. They keep showing that neighborhood she lives in.
That's
the $5 million home.
Yeah, but there's
I'm
no
telling
one
you,
out there.
If you pay attention to the charismatic predator from Mark Driscoll to this lady, if you look at their life, that's what you're going to notice. There's no best friend.
There's no one around.
There's no right-hand man that all the things that Pastor Mark Driscoll says that's out in the open. No, he doesn't hide anything. Where's this best friend of yours? Who do you hang out with? If you look behind them, there is a train wreck of relationships, and nobody goes, you know what? Shouldn't we hold them accountable for the train wreck of relationships behind them? Nope.
Yeah, it's wild how
It is very wild.
how alone and
Yes.
she is.
Yes.
Imagine how poor it is for your mental state to only be around people that see you as some sort of prophet. Like, that's a terrible thing for your brain.
Yeah, no
and it's
doubt.
what you're alluding to when you have
Yeah.
like 240 people just nodding their head. Like,
constantly.
That's crazy. You need to have someone to check you.
And they're all telling you, you're making a difference. You're making a difference.
Well,
You
they're
are
not
making a
wrong.
difference.
They're making the difference. I just don't know if it's a positive or a negative all the time. So.
And I think sometimes with the charismatic predator, they play on our need for quick results fast. They can give you flashes with no substance. And I think in the therapy world, I think even pastors will do this in the therapy world without even know they're doing it with their counseling. A person will go through very difficult mental states seemingly quickly in the church. Yeah. And I think we like these people because they can hurry up and come tell us, oh, yeah, this guy was bipolar and now he's healed. And I'm like, yeah. And then you're like, that was 2 weeks that the person testified. And now we're quickly trying to get the church to see me as somebody. I think with this is a whole thing about, to me, again, as a person who's charismatic, having things in place.
Okay, let's move into the next section.
Okay.
I want to bring up this topic because this is when I look at influencer culture and just how it colors everything in our world, everything we believe. I want to talk about this in particular, and I want to frame it through the thing that happened in Minneapolis last week.
Oh, boy.
With ICE. Right, I know. I'm going into a hot button
Cody,
issue.
here we go.
I wasn't
Okay.
ready for this.
And I
need
want
some
us
sound
I
effects
want us
music.
to look at it really balanced because I know this is going to be a sensitive thing for some people.
Okay, can I say something? You guys are going to judge me, but it's okay. I just found about this yesterday.
Oh, the thing in Minneapolis?
Yeah.
Well, good for you, because that means you haven't been online. That's probably a better place for all of us. What I want to attack here is quote unquote certainty. This idea that we talked about it already with influencer culture that makes us all think we are so certain of everything that we think, that we're so right. And so what I want to say is if you watch the video with really a neutral eye of everything that transpired in Minneapolis with the ICE agent and all that, it's chaos. It is absolute chaos. And I am just shocked that we have pooled into two groups where they're so sure that either this thing happened or they're so sure this thing happened. When I look at it and I see this is absolute chaos and super complex, and every one of these people are in like fight or flight and panic mode, and to be able to think we can get inside their heads and understand exactly what they were thinking in these moments.
That's tough.
Whether it's the women in the vehicle,
Yeah.
whether it's the ICE agent, like you understand, to pretend to understand exactly what's
Yeah.
going through all their minds is absurd.
Yeah.
It's absurd. This is a world of nuance. And I think this whole culture has convinced us into thinking we just absolutely know with certainty what's going on. And what I'm saying isn't that that's tragic. Of course it's tragic. What I'm saying is we should approach it with that we live in a world of chaos where bad things can happen, and that certainty is what got us to that point, right? The people that are there as actors in that chaotic situation. Think of Kyle Rittenhouse. You remember Kyle Rittenhouse?
Yeah, man.
So it's really kind of the same situation, just reversed as far as politically
it
goes. Yeah. You go into a situation and there's such certainty on either side, but really what you're doing is you're just taking chaos and putting it inside chaos and then wondering why it goes south. And then everyone around it is perpetrators of chaos. See, this is my point. How do we get to a point where we just start discussing our own culpability in adding to the system? So it's easy to look at the Jodi Hildebrandt story and say, she's evil.
That's why I didn't want to make it about me, but that's what I really was looking at my own self going,
yes,
what traits do I have that can potentially get me to where she's at? And I know that's down in me somewhere.
But one, I respect that, and I love that about you. But also, what about the people that don't have those traits? Or we're just innocent? No.
Yes,
the question,
Thank you. Yes, Cody's
the question, Cody, is how do I contribute to a world and an atmosphere that results in Jodi Hildebrandt, that results in what happened in Minneapolis? How do the words I speak and the certainty I pretend to have contribute to what happens in the world when tragedy strikes?
And we're watching it over and over and over again.
Yes.
So, like, our brains are trying to process all the information that we're bombarded with daily, and you take snippets and you mold it into, like, well, this is part of reality. And so often I think that if we actually slow down, if we were mindful of the current present state that we are in, we would realize, like, okay, like, we hyperfixated.
Yeah.
How can we pull back a little bit and get a more broad picture without distorting it, to use Jodi's
distortion?
It's all distortion.
It's all distortion.
Demonic.
So, like, but really, we do need to, as a culture, as a nation, need to put in that perspective. And slowing down is not a bad thing.
So for me, Cody, I was a person that sees my phone as a tool, you know.
Yeah.
But since I've went on this idea of restricting myself and now not really being on social media as much as I used to, I can't believe how that's impacted my mind. I don't know if I believed it when I heard therapists say the dangers of this stuff. I cannot believe how it's impacted my own personal mental state.
Well, it keeps you so, like, hyped up all the time that like you're going after either the next like, if you're someone that's all about the social media follows, or you're going after like this next news cycle item, or you're going after trolling or whatever it is that you do. And so like you're just constantly consuming and consuming and consuming.
The guy that you
rest.
hit me with that's no longer a part of the church, but he's probably the most reasonable person on the internet right now. The guy that you sent, I got the video for Jason, I think is his name.
Pargan.
He's probably the most reasonable person on the internet. When he talks about, and this is to your point, Dave, these narratives existed before this situation started. And to me, everybody's trying to leverage this story to bolster their narrative that they already believed before this whole, even immediately there were people that were there that thought ICE was wrong, and immediately there were people there that thought that she was wrong, and nobody knew what was going on. But immediately, if I was against ICE and ICE showed up, I was there to tell ICE they're stupid and get out of here. And then the people that are for ICE are going, you know, lady, you need to comply. And so it's like we already show up to these events with, it's not like they're going to change our minds.
Right.
And so that Jason Pargan guy, the video that he has with all of the violent all the statistics that have about how society's improved. This is the greatest time to be alive, and nobody knows it. I'm going to say it louder. Statistically and categorically, for every single people group in America, this is the best time to be alive, statistically and categorically, and nobody knows it, because every time something negative happens in the world, it seems like, you get to hear it over and over and over and over and over again, and it leads you to believe that negative stuff has always happened. But statistically, violent crime is down. Statistically and categorically, violent crime is trending downward in a rate that nobody is celebrating. Illiteracy, clean water, all these things we've actually improved and gotten better at, and nobody's talking about it.
Yeah. Well, that's because that doesn't sell, DJ.
And so, with that being said, to your point, what you're saying is like these moments like this just perpetuate to have another charismatic predator rise to the top and go, let me tell you what it is. And they create a cool video, and everybody starts following them, and they can tell you what it is. And because that's what we want,
okay,
that's what we're going to listen to.
So this leads into the kind of the last thing I want to talk about, which is we've worked our way here. You know, we started off with influencer culture. We talked about the religious structures, power dynamics, all these things that lead into this. And we've kind of landed on this place of certainty and false certainty. Yeah, and you mentioned author Jason Pargin, who really everyone should follow him. He's great because
absolutely
he presents wisdom, but with humility. He says all the time in his videos, like, I'm not an expert. Yeah. I'm just sharing these things I've observed. And that's what we need to do. Is there's a difference between certain and sharing observations, right? Because then you allow the listener to listen to your words and make informed decisions about like, okay, this is his observation. Now, what word would be his, where would he be blind? Where would he,
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's something that a guy says in the documentary near the end. I think is he like maybe the head police officer, or maybe he's the prosecuting attorney. I'm not sure. He says, quote, we're all going to have to, as a culture, figure out how do we parse out intentional falsehoods, misrepresentations, and truth and fact? And how do we live in our world in this thing? And I want to talk about this because the danger of our culture isn't disagreement. The danger is unquestionable certainty. In any given topic back in the day, you could have had 20 different viewpoints on something. That's not how it is anymore.
No,
we've created a space where it's two.
Just either or.
And I don't think people understand how dangerous certainty is in this regard, because once you narrow that down to one, that means something really bad has happened. But that's happened
true.
in history so many times.
That's true.
That we don't even understand. That, like, listen, we compare anything and everything to Nazis. The danger isn't that one of the two groups is a Nazi. The danger is both groups could be Nazis.
Amen.
That's the problem.
The strongest Nazi wins.
Society, our culture is engaging in a fascism of thought on two sides. And it's so funny that, one of them says they're anti-fascism, but they can't even see that you're engaging in a thought process that says no other thoughts can be valid here.
And who suffers? The children.
The children. The meek. It's the meek that suffer.
Yeah.
This is what worldly power thrives on and feeds on. It feeds on the meek. And at some point, we just have to reward the people who don't want to be leaders, who actually lead with humility and less certainty. We have to reward and advance people like that in our culture. This all goes back to how we should approach things humbly, because I think,
Dave, I'm humble.
Yeah.
I tried to say that
in a general sense.
I'm just
because I'm talking about just the human mind.
I'm just being silly.
The human mind in general wants certainty. We want certainty. Unfortunately, that's not the existence we live in. If we're being honest, there's nuance, there's mystery. We can't know everything. Absolutely. This is why humans have a weird, complicated relationship with faith.
Yeah.
Because we want faith to be about certainty. But by definition, that's not what faith's about.
Absolutely.
Faith is about not having all the answers, not being able to see something, but knowing it's and believing it's there.
Yeah.
So certainty is the enemy, and the problem. I think that's the problem. The problem comes down to why are we liable to fall into the thrall of a Jodi Hildebrandt?
That's what I'm getting at. And
Because-
then why do we even push for that?
Right, because we want one prophet. We want one prophet who is divine, who is called, who we just can put all our certainty on. But the answer
His name is Jesus. I don't understand.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. The answer is many prophets who we can determine through our unit, our circuitry, our group, piece it all together for ourselves, right?
I got you.
Like, you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
No, you don't have one prophet. You have many prophets. You have people that know certain things about this area. It's just like Cody said. I'm not going to have my family practice doctor do neurosurgery.
Yeah.
Right?
Not today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a priesthood of believers, to your point.
I want a network.
Yeah.
I want humanity to understand that certainties are not part of the deal. Therefore, we don't need one divine person, human being. We need many people to speak into our lives
many
and
parts.
to understand life, to understand what this is all about. And then you can look for your higher authority, your higher calling.
I'll conclude with this, and then Dave, you can have it.
Final thoughts.
My final thought here is that one, man doesn't do good with fame. That's the first thing. I'm just realizing you don't want to be famous if you're a man. It just doesn't work out. The second thing, we're all limited. If you're not careful, these people that have these gifts, you will fall for their tricks.
Yeah. Cody.
So for me, as a culture, we have to be careful with who we pour into, who we consume, because if we keep consuming them over and over, and this is bad water, we're going to get sick. We're going to be afflicted with the same thing that they're struggling with. And we're going to be as empty and as broken as the next person. And it's not good for us in the long run. And use common sense. Pull back. Like, if you think I shouldn't be away from my kids for a year and us still be married and me fitting the bill, then question it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, there's a lot of things going on in this doc that was bananas. One thing that wasn't covered in the doc, one of the kids of Ruby, Frankie, her kid, Sherry Frankie, wrote a book, The House of My Mother.
That's in the HBO one.
A Daughter's Quest for Freedom.
Yeah, that's in the HBO one, by the way.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch the HBO one now.
I had a lot of thoughts watching this documentary, and a lot of thoughts, especially about the structures I'm a part of. And that's naturally how you would do it. And so naturally we saw a lot of church kind of things to pay attention to as far as what a religious structure lends to these possibilities of this happening. And I would echo what Cody said a little bit too, is just, hey, if someone's saying something that in your brain, in your gut even, says, well, that doesn't feel right, then trust your feelings.
Well, read that quote. Read that quote one more time, brother.
The one that the
detective.
Yeah, he said, we're all going to have to, as a culture, figure out how do we parse out intentional falsehoods, misrepresentations, and truth and fact, and how do we live in the world while doing that? Like, yeah. And that's just it. It's because I feel like we live in a day and age where we have more information than ever, and it's emptier than ever. It's empty information.
Ain't that crazy?
But we pretend that it's real.
Ain't that just crazy?
Yeah. And so
I always thought if you knew better, you do better.
This is us.
And so everything, here's what I'll leave you with. Imagine this paradox, that what you said earlier is absolutely true, that this is the safest, most comfortable time to be alive for most human beings in the places they live. But also, people are angrier and more hateful than they've been in a while.
The Tale of Two Cities. It was the best of times.
There you go.
And the worst of times.
And
at the same time.
I'm not smart enough to be able to figure out what that means, but it means something. So, when you figure it out, let us know what you thought about this documentary and what you think about solving the world's problems
Yes.
Let us know on the social media. It's a little different episode always when we have DJ on and talk about a
Oh,
documentary.
Lord help us. At least we avoided talking about P. Diddy.
Yes. Yeah,
It was
absolutely.
close.
It was really
I
close.
did not want to talk
I
about
did not
P.
either.
Diddy.
I did not either.
So
I did want to talk about 50 Cent.
our What's Up docs usually end up being more of a free range conversation that where the documentary is a starting point, and that's what you got here. Tell us if you like it or not.
Yes,
You could say that's not my favorite, whatever.
Yeah.
But subscribe. As long as you subscribe and share it, that's fine. We'll see you next time.